What's going on, everybody? This is Chris from the Remote Work Series, and we are going to get going in just a second. But before we do, let me know in the comments, one, where you guys are tuning in from, what city you guys are in, and what line of work you're in, so we can get that going in the comments. What's up, Jay, Britta, Karen? All right. Awesome. Ivan, how are you doing? Gloria? Cool. I have a poll for everybody before we dive into this, just to get an idea of where y'all are at. So let me pull that up and we are going to get this going. Let me know if everybody can see that. Charlie, that coming through for you?
Yes, sir. How many
Awesome.
of you have thought about writing a book, and what best describes your current situation?
All right, Karen, Milwaukee. All right. Charlie, you're in Colorado right now?
Yes, sir.
How's the weather treating you there?
It's great. The snow started to melt yesterday, and my 2-year-old daughter went sledding in our backyard for the first time. It was pretty delightful.
That's got to be a fun experience.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, we can see here. It looks like just about everybody on here wants to write a book. Best describes their current situation. It looks like most people, about 50%, haven't even tried putting one together. So this is what we're going to be diving into in a minute, talking about. We got Henrik from Denmark. Awesome. International. Thank you for joining us. Cool. We will end this poll now that we got some votes in. So very excited for this one today. This is a conversation I've been wanting to have for a while. Super cool that we have Charlie here. We might have another guest, Tucker, hopping on in a bit. But yeah, so writing a book is let's see, Stefan, what if you haven't finished yet but haven't yet failed? Charlie, I imagine we're going to be talking about that a bit today too.
We will. Yes.
Awesome.
We got a lot of Danish folks. Nice to see all the folks representing from Denmark. Hi, Britta. Hi, Henrik. And Roderick. Never mind.
Before we go in, let's give Charlie his bio. If you guys don't know Charlie, Charlie is an author and a book marketer. He's written Play It Away, Play for a Living, and Recession-Proof Graduate. He's advised hundreds of authors on book marketing, including Tim Ferriss, Ramit Sethi, Eric Ries, and Gary Vaynerchuk. He's the former host of the #1 rated Author Hour podcast and the head of multimedia at Scribe. Charlie, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for having me, Chris. And on a personal note, you and I used to work together on stuff, and always enjoyed working with you, and then was delighted when you made the switch to AppSumo, and I'm glad you're still there. So
I appreciate it.
It's good talking to a friend, being interviewed by a friend.
Thank you. Yeah, this is very surreal, circular experience, because I connected with you originally over Recession-Proof Graduate, which was the first book that you wrote, and then you ended up introducing me to the folks at AppSumo, and now I'm interviewing you about how to write a book, which is the first thing that got me into this. So it's very mind blowing. 7 years later, something like that. But yeah, so before we go into actually like putting together a book, writing your book, I guess what are your thoughts on like the current situation in terms of, I think a lot of people are concerned, a lot of them are seeing a lot of like worry out there, but a lot of people have been talking about all the opportunity that's available to people if they're kind of able to push aside what's going on and see past that. So I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on the current situation, how people can think about it.
Yeah. So before I share that, I'd like to hear from everybody who's on. If you could type in the chat and make sure, all panelists and attendees are selected so I can see what you write. Do you fall more into the camp of, I'm worried right now, or I see opportunity, or are you like basically a perfect mix of both? Do you sway back and forth? So type that in the chat. Worry, opportunity, or both?
All right, we're getting some opportunity coming through.
Excellent. See, this is why I frankly love entrepreneurs. Like Ivan, I feel for you. I'm a bit worried myself, but I love entrepreneurs because and this is why I've worked with entrepreneurs for a decade, is because they're the people who not only see opportunity, they take responsibility for other people's problems and they help them through them. And right now, there are a lot of problems, right? And so if you can't see opportunity, you're not focused on the problems that could be solved. Yes, I see opportunities everywhere as well. So it's both a very fascinating time and an exciting time, and of course a troublesome time, like, because everything's kind of been exposed for all the problems that there really are.
Mm-hmm. Are there any, I guess, any resources or things like that, kind of either books on history or philosophy or psychology, things that you would recommend that would kind of help people potentially reframe some of this? I did see a couple people seeing some problems, seeing some worry, maybe resources to help people find a new perspective.
Yeah, it's a great question. So the book I've taken most comfort in has been The Fourth Turning.
Oh, I haven't
And
heard of that.
The Fourth Turning is about how human civilizations are basically seasonal or cyclical. So
Mm-hmm.
they have spring, summer, fall, and winter. And we've been due for a winter for over a decade, and we've managed to prolong it. So without getting too much into like economics and all this stuff, a lot of the problems we see right now, while on the surface, like there's the coronavirus, there's also the deeper issues that were inevitably going to happen. And so the Fourth Turning lays out, like, throughout history, this has repeatedly happened over and over and over. And here's how you can respond when you're in certain seasons. Like, here's how civilizations sort of play out. And a season will come to an end eventually. I think we're probably due for a long winter, but so be it.
Yeah. And it can be, I'm going to have to check that out. It can definitely be hard when you're in that. I was talking to a friend the other day about the stock market. And when you look at it historically and you see the ups and downs, it's so easy to look back and think, well, man, like, doesn't everybody just get you come out the other side and it does better? But when you're in the middle of that trough and then you're not seeing what takes place after, it's like you're at the beginning or you're at the middle of this story. You don't see the ending coming. So it can feel a lot more kind of on top of you and overwhelming. But being able to get some of that perspective, seeing how these things come in cycles, it can help quell some of that fear and concern.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I guess going into the let's see what Britta said, opportunities in a problematic situation with currently the coronavirus, but even more seriously the environment. That is also a fair concern to be bringing up. In terms of why I think a lot of people are here talking about writing a book, I guess before we dive into why you should write a book or who should be writing a book, what was your story behind this? Because I think from my recollection, and maybe you can clear this up for me, my first exposure to you, I think, was Recession Proof Graduate, was like a slide deck or a PDF that you put out with Ramit on I Will Teach You to Be Rich, 2000 something early on. Like what was your very first kind of foray into this?
Yeah, it's actually an appropriate place to start. So in 2008, I graduated from college and it was the recession. So all my expectations about how everything was going to play out for me career-wise were fell apart. And I went from thinking I was going to have a job to applying to 100 companies and either being ignored or ghosted by literally all of them, with the exception of two. One was a pyramid scheme, and the other was basically backbreaking labor, which I have nothing against, but it was, why did I go to college? Why did I spend all that time in school? So I sort of had to re-examine my strategy and realize that all bets were off. Like, all the strategies I'd been told about how to approach a career did not seem to be effective at all. And even if I did get a job, it probably wasn't going to be one that I really believed in and cared about and wanted to stick with. I was interested in building a career and doing work that mattered and getting compensated well to do it. Not just entry-level sales positions at cell phone stores. Again, nothing against that, but that's not what I wanted. And for entrepreneurs, everybody on here, I'm sure you feel the same. So I changed my strategy and I started to approach people and companies who I thought were doing great work. And I acted like I was a partner to them. I would approach them, and first I would do research on them and say, okay, these appear to be the problems that they have, and these are the ways they're trying to grow their business. And I would come to them with something that would help them, and they hired me. And like over and over and over, I started getting hired by all these different people and companies, and they would recommend me to others. And so all of us, I had this weird disconnect suddenly with my peer group who was really struggling, and me who was, I was literally talking to Fortune 100 CEOs and entrepreneurs who are famous and best-selling authors and getting opportunities with them. And I'm not exceptionally smart. I was just doing something different. And so the reason I wrote Recession Proof Graduate is a quote from Darwin where he says, "It is not the smartest or the strongest in the species that survives, is the one that is quickest to adapt to change," or something to that effect. And just like right now, the people who can adapt to this change and not hold on to the old ways that worked, the people who can adapt can thrive and create opportunities. And there's always going to be opportunities if there are problems. And so I wrote Recession Proof Graduate to share that strategy. And that's something that helped you. You know, you told me,
and then I used that strategy to then connect with you because you were coming out with a new version of Recession Proof Grad. And I was like, hey, here's a proposal for ways I think you could improve the book. And then, man, there are so many strings to go off of in this conversation right now because we weren't even planning on talking about Recession Proof Graduate, but it's just so, again, the 4 seasons of it coming back around to exactly where it started for you, being able to teach this to people, and then how you've used that book to parlay it into so many different opportunities. This is a book I've been recommending to people in a strategy for so long. The strategy itself is incredibly appropriate for right now, but also the process that got you into writing that book and then the opportunities that it's opened for you. And again, not just any job, but like some of the top authors, entrepreneurs, startups, CEOs that everybody knows. And it's wild to see that you were able to do that in a time when everybody was seeing worry and concern and jobs drying up, and you were able to just seize a bunch of opportunities because of this.
Exactly. And that's what I teach. That's the core message, is like, stop looking for like these perfect opportunities to be presented to you and go out and create them. That's all I taught. And anybody can do that. You just have to do some research. So, and like, it was based on what I saw billionaires doing too. Warren Buffett started his career that way, you know, like, anyway, yeah, I don't want to go off too much on a tangent and think people have to read. You don't have to read Recession Proof Graduate. In fact, it's probably not right for many of you because it's written in the voice of a sarcastic millennial. It's super annoying that I can't read it now. But all this to say, like, having that book had a ripple effect on a lot of people. And I think anybody who's on this call can have that same impact. And I started by creating a blog post that turned into a slide deck, which eventually became a book. So we were talking about the minimum viable product for a book, right? Does anybody, write in the chat, do you feel like writing a book is a daunting, overwhelming process that seems exceptionally difficult? Like, that's the reason you don't want to do it. Karen says no. Good for you, Karen. Does anybody feel like it's a huge, daunting process? Nope. Ramen? No, absolutely not.
Man, I think we're going to have a bunch of books coming out of this.
Of course it is. Yes, but I mean, yeah, so I want to give you guys a tool, a resource right now that you can look to that can help you through the process. And I don't want to go too far ahead of you, Chris.
No, go for it.
ScribebookSchool.com. We're going to be doing a live workshop on how to write a book if you guys want to go through the whole process. It's 2 days next week.
I'm going to post a link to it right now.
Yeah. And you can also look at our YouTube channel. We have all these lessons on how to write, publish, market your book. And you can see the process. It's not an exceptionally difficult process once you break it down. It's doable, but it is eating an elephant a bite at a time type thing. So
I guess on that note, who should be thinking about writing a book? Like what either experience or what type of person? Like, why a book and why now and who? I guess I'm slamming a bunch of questions at you right there. But let's start with who should be writing a book.
Who should be writing a book? I think there are 2 types, and Tucker explains this really well. It's basically like, do you have a reputation that you want to solidify? Like in your business, do you want to be known as the most credible person in your particular field? Like is a book a marketing tool that you could leverage in your business to raise your authority, to make a bigger impact, to create new opportunities for yourself? If it could do that, a book can absolutely help you. And if you're a person who has a story to tell, an interesting story that might serve somebody. So I'll give an example of a blend of both, because a lot of people say, I have a story and I have wisdom to share. There's a guy named Cliff Lerner who he created a Facebook dating app way back in the day before Tinder existed. And it blew up. It had 100 million users, and his company was valued at close to $300 million at some point. You know, Mark Cuban was talking to him, all these big players, and then the company took a dive and it became worth nothing, right? In startup land, there are a lot of these types of stories, right? Especially in Silicon Valley. He was in New York. And so he kind of felt defeated by this for a while. You know, that's a hard thing to go through when you're at 300 million and then you're at nothing. You could have gotten acquired or whatever. What he did was he wrote a book called Explosive Growth. He published it through our company, where he shared his story, all the ugly parts, all the ups and downs, and he distilled his wisdom, the lessons that he'd learned during that time. And now it's become one of these like must-read books for a lot of tech entrepreneurs and founders who have hired him on to their boards. He now has equity in a bunch of companies, which is exactly what he wanted. So if you have, if you think of a book as not like the thing that you market, right? If you have an assumption that I got to sell 1 million copies in order for this thing to be successful, not true at all. That is a myth, a huge myth that is propagated by the old traditional publishing model. What you need to think about is, do I have a story to tell? Do I have wisdom to share? And do I have a reputation that I can solidify so I can be known as the go-to person that everybody wants to work with?
Mm-hmm. And I guess that also kind of goes to the point of not looking as a book as like a standalone piece, but I mean, we have a lot of like digital agencies, freelancers, consultants, entrepreneurs, things like that. Looking at your book as one step in your funnel, as a marketing channel, as something that you can use to attract new people to you. That is just one of the things that you're doing. And if you're, say, an agency and you help people set up, whether it's their ads or their landing pages, their webinars, and you have a process for doing that, which if you're doing that type of work, you have a process. Otherwise, there's no way you're working with more than one client at a time. But if you have that, you can formalize that, share it with people, and now you are the go-to expert on topic XYZ.
Yes, I love that you brought this up. So agencies, consultants, coaches, I want people to put in the chat, if you fit into one of these buckets, just say, yes, I'm one of those, or yes. Consultants, coaches, agencies, SaaS companies, like Expert Secrets for ClickFunnels has driven a ton.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Anybody who does any type of speaking publicly, service providers, if you're teaching people how to work with you or what to look for when they're hiring a type of service provider, if you work with high income clients, if you work with high net worth, clients. So for instance, we had a lawyer publish a book with us on, and he didn't even put it on Amazon. He just printed up like thousands of copies and, it was a financial services provider who catered to high net worth women going through a divorce. And so he printed off thousands of copies and just gave them away for free to lawyers who catered to those folks in his area. And because they cannot legally give financial advice, but they can say, here's a book on the topic, check that out. His practice is now bursting at the seams with high net worth clients. So there's a lot of opportunity. If you work with clients, that is a sweet spot for somebody who could benefit from having a book as another marketing tool. So you might be already exploring webinars. You probably have a funnel. You might have a YouTube channel. You might have a book is the only thing with, there's some exceptions I can think of, but a book is really the only thing that people will pay for, that they'll keep, that they'll hand off to their friends, that they'll value for a decade. A blog post, even the best blog post in the world, isn't going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would love to go deeper into some of those, I guess, the tangential like benefits that you can get, as well as what you want to include. Because we were talking about this before, where it's like you can use a book, like if you put together a book properly for whatever your service-based business is or whatever it is, and you teach that process, you can teach them what to look for in somebody. You can teach them exactly how to do it. Now you're validating them. You're proving that you're an expert. You're the number one person to go to on this topic. So then before you ever even meet, ever have a conversation, you have this status as like author and expert, and your reputation precedes you. And now just like, it's a lot easier to get people to sign on and just be like, where do I sign?
Exactly. Yeah. They know, like, and trust you. They understand your process. They become your best clients. Really. Like, I mean, and I'm curious for everything I just laid out, is there anybody in here that wasn't sure if they had a book in them, but now sees, oh, I could have a book in me? I'm curious. Just put that in the chat if that's you. And we were talking, before this, a lot of people think, gosh, I got to write about, what I'm excited about now. They want to write about what they're learning now or what they're going through now. And a lot of people wonder, they have imposter syndrome. They're like, I have to be writing about the most cutting edge thing that I'm learning about now. Right. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if what I could say is valuable. I've only got 5 years of experience doing this thing, whereas there's people in my industry who have 20. Like, who am I to say this, right? Does anybody feel a little bit of imposter syndrome? Write it in the chat if you feel like,
You can assume my hands are raised on that one, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So the example I gave is, Chris, what would you have said to 20-year-old Chris, who's going through his own version of hell and needs to get out? He needs a roadmap out, right? Like, we all have gone through our own version of a horrible problem, right? Mm-hmm. That we had to solve on our own, and we didn't have a roadmap. Mm-hmm. And what would we have paid to have that learning curve shortened? Yeah. There he is, the man of the hour.
What's going on?
Like, I looked at the thing, I thought it was 12 my time instead of 12 Eastern. And so I was just off on a lazy walk with my kids thinking I'll be back with an hour to spare.
No, you're good. Thanks for hopping in. Everybody, Tucker Max, professional writer, 20 plus years, 9 books published, 4-time New York Times bestseller, and 4.5 million books sold. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I guess backtracking a minute, how have you been dealing with everything that's going on?
Complete, sheer, utter panic. No, I'm kidding.
I can see that all over your face.
No, so obviously at first, when I first started hearing about this, like, I follow a lot of people on Twitter, like Nassim Taleb and Balaji, people like that who were really into this early. So I was like me and like Tim Ferriss is a friend of mine. We were all panicked early, right? And then no one was paying attention to this. And then now I'm like, oh, this is amazing. We got it covered. Now it's like all opportunity for me. So like all the cycle that most people are going through, I went through the same cycle just earlier. Mm-hmm. And so like I'm at the point now where it's like, who knows what's going to happen, but I'm very optimistic about, maybe not very short term, but mid to long term. I'm very optimistic about it in terms of the virus, what's going to happen. And so now I'm thinking, okay, how do we use this? Like, people obviously that don't have coronavirus, how do you use this as an opportunity to make yourself better, right? And so that's why we did Scribe Book School, and that's why we kind of did all this other stuff. you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I was just watching an interview with Nassim, and he goes, if you're going to panic, panic early so you can actually take action that's going to help you.
Exactly. Yep.
So what are some of those opportunities that you're seeing out there? Because we were talking about that a little earlier of there's a lot of people worrying or panicking now when things are kind of at their potentially ideally at their worst right now. And so how do you see past that and find these opportunities?
Right. So, I mean, obviously, you've got to handle your short-term stuff. If you don't have food, if you don't have shelter, if like that sort of stuff, then you need to worry about that. That is the first and foremost thing. Like survive, on Maslow's pyramid, survival needs are the base for a reason. Right.
I don't have oxygen, Tucker.
Right.
I can't breathe.
It's funny to joke with millennials is like Wi-Fi is beneath survival needs, right?
Right.
But like, if you don't have that, you shouldn't be on this webinar, right? If you don't have a decent amount of food or access to it, or et cetera. Although honestly, I think most of that's overblown. It's so funny. Everyone's freaking out like Costco's out of toilet paper. I'm like, go to the Mexican market. They have everything. Like in our neighborhood, there's like a really nice one, and they're always perfectly stocked. Like there's not shortages, right, of this stuff, unless you're a healthcare worker. It's a different thing, right? If you're a healthcare worker, you're not watching this probably. But if you're a regular person, probably you're okay, but just make sure you are, right? Okay. Now, once that survival stuff is taken care of, then the question becomes, how do I use this, right? And so there's a lot of emotional things, like a lot of really good people are talking about, which I think you should really focus on. Like, if you're having crazy panic attacks at home and you don't have the virus, you're not exposed to anything, then you got issues. Like a trigger is a teacher, and you should really be thinking about that, right? Or if you're panicked about business or other things, either it means you are in a business that is not well positioned for this, right? Or it means that you aren't really you're looking at opportunity and seeing the fear, right? Instead of the opportunity. So I'll give you a really good example of how to kind of to reset. So everyone knows what a roller coaster is, obviously, right? Okay. So there are some people that will spend hundreds of dollars and dozens of hours to wait in line to go on these things. Other people, you could not get them on at the point of a gun, right? But what's crazy is like the neurological biophysical response is the same for both people. Like it is not different. It is just a reversal of frame, right? And if you look at it like fear, the body's response to fear is literally identical to the body's response to excitement, the physical response. The difference is the frame you use. How am I going to perceive this, right? You can easily look at what's happening in the world right now and absolutely panic and freak out, right? Or you can look at it past survival needs and say, okay, this is an opportunity. A lot of things are going to reset. How can I either take the skills I have to maximize my opportunity, or use this time to develop new skills I will need to maximize the opportunity, right? It's one or the other or both, okay? Yeah. And so some of the big things I think we're gonna see, the big shifts that are, I think, most relevant to your audience. We had already been doing this for years, for more than a decade. Most of the high-level professionals that I know, the ones who are already successful, they know that they have to develop media, right? That they have to have their own media. And it doesn't mean be Gary Vaynerchuk, right? What I mean is they need some piece of media or some outside presence from their job to let people know that they know how to do their job, right? Call it proof of work. It used to be that a college degree and a decent professional network was all the proof of work you needed. That world is gone. Right? And what's going on now is only going to reinforce, especially if we have 3 months of, let's call it social isolation, it'll be at least another couple years before we get back to normal, right? And so all these in-person events and all the normal ways of people finding new people interacting are going to fundamentally shift. And so if you don't have proof of work online, easily findable, easily referenceable, you are way behind those people who do, right? A book is one of those things. It is not the only thing by any stretch. And in fact, depending on where you are in your career, a book may not make sense. But a book is, as far as I'm concerned, for high-level professionals, it's one of the flagpole things you really kind of have to have, right? Now, like if you're starting off, like really what you need is like a portfolio. And you can define a portfolio 1,000 ways: YouTube videos, blog posts, great Twitter account, great LinkedIn account. It all depends on what you do. If you're a designer, having a great account on Dribbble or Behance or whatever it is. But then as you move up, you need more and more stuff, right? Like you need maybe a speaker reel, you need a book, you need like all these white papers, you need proof of work. And what that is depends on who you are, what you can do, and what industry you're in, right? And so that's a huge, huge shift that we are going to see. It was already coming. It was a secular long-term shift that was already coming. And most of our clients who pay us anywhere from $10,000 to $100,000 plus, they all knew that, and they were all doing that, right? So these are all the successful rich people. Now people who are not super successful and rich yet, but are getting there, are going to realize, oh shit, I gotta get going. Like this is the thing. And so if you realize that, now is an amazing time to build your portfolio. Like we're doing it. Like I'm not even saying, oh, we have a perfect portfolio, this is what you should do. No. Like we had an amazing portfolio in certain areas, but we're a media company, right? We didn't really have a YouTube channel. And we knew video is a major part of the future. We knew we had to do this. It was kind of in our plans, but it was like one of those things where it was like, quite honestly, we were dragging ass. No way around it. And now it's like this happened. And like I said, I panicked like mid-February, came out of the panic. And then I was like, guys, this is an incredible opportunity. Let's go. And I like the whole marketing team basically dropped everything. And we all shifted to Scribe Book School because we knew this is a thing we wanted to do already. And so it's like, all right, all hands on deck. And now we went from like 70 YouTube subscribers on our channel to over 700 today. It'll be 10,000 by the end of next week. And this is just the start. We are shifting a huge part of our marketing onto video first content marketing because without in-person stuff, with professional networks breaking down, this is some of the best proof of work you can have for what the industry we are in. And we knew it, we just hadn't done it. Right? Does this all make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking earlier about how basically if people maybe never really thought about the process behind a book, but they might have been spending the past 10 years thinking about how to build a startup, how to build a company, how to grow their business. It's not apples and oranges. There's like, you have to find a target audience. You have to validate your idea. You have to put out an MVP, kind of what you're saying, depending on where you're at, you can build out this portfolio that's your MVP. And then once that gets traction, then you can go to maybe a Medium post, or then it can be an ebook and then a printed work. Like, how would you think about something like that? Or how could you help somebody shift from they've been thinking about it this way, maybe you could transition your thinking to this?
So we'd have to, if you want a specific plan, you got to give me a person in an industry, right? Because there is no such thing as the plan. Here's the
Okay, let's go with a digital agency, because that's a lot of our audience, like digital agencies, freelancers.
All right, awesome. So give me an example of like what specifically they're freelancing on.
Let's say a copywriter, someone like that.
Oh, such a good one. Copywriters. Oh my goodness. Okay. So if you're a copywriter, right? Right now, what I would be doing if I were a copywriter is I would, depending on, probably you have a specialty like, health and fitness or e-com, right? I would start going to companies that are blowing up right now. So every work from home company, every software company that does anything about connecting people work from home, I would go look at, there's a bunch of e-com companies blowing up, all the medical stuff, medical stuff adjacent. I would really look at any company that's doing well. I would go out to them right now and I would say, hey, I'm a great copywriter in this area. I looked at your site, I looked at your materials. I know you guys are scrambling to make masks. Here's my ideas for how to make it better. My normal rate is X. I'll take 50% of X. Let's go, right? And if someone who had enough, sent me a decent example of that, if I was in one of those things, I'm like, hell yeah, let's go, right? And so then you have one piece of material. Let's just say some low-level medical device company that's growing 100% a week right now. Now you have that, right? And so what I would do is whatever channel you like to use, start like a Medium post right there would be perfect. How I helped a medical device company go from a little growth to a bunch of growth. And then walk through exactly, take their pages for what it was, and then walk through every change you made and why you made it and how it works, right? Then you take that and send it to every other medical device company, right? And by the way, you can sub out medical device for anything here. It doesn't matter. Like send it to all their competitors, anyone who's even adjacent to them, right? And say, hey, look, again, do a little bit of research on the company, the new one you're approaching. Say, hey, look, I looked at your company. I really like it. I think you could improve your copy though. Here's 3 quick, easy changes I would make. 1, 2, 3. And then here's an example of how I took this one company and helped them double their sales, and then link the Medium post. If you want to talk, I'm on board, right? And so like you do that, and with just even a basic amount of research on people, you'll get anywhere from 5 to 25% positive responses. And depending on how well you can sell and how well you can talk to people, you might close up to a quarter or more of those people, right? And now all of a sudden you have a portfolio of people, right? Then from there, so let's say you get 5 clients, you do really good with even 4 of them. So now, and you got the one before, so you got 5 solid case studies. Now you put up a website. Hey, I'm the copywriter for Industry X, medical devices, right? Here's a bunch of proof. Here's this, here's that. And then like, here's the, put 1 or 2 case studies, deeper case studies, and then say, like if you're in medical devices, like don't just hire marketing agencies. Don't just hire this person. Don't just hire that. They don't know your industry. I know your industry, right? Here's all the proof, apply here. I'll do a free half-hour consultation. I'll walk through your site with you live on Zoom, tell you exactly what changes to make, what changes I would make. And then you can hire me and I can build your whole package, autoresponders, blah, whatever, all that kind of stuff. Dude, I mean, I will tell you right now, copywriter is such a good example because any industry, even marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just about any industry, I would say, if you gave me a suite of 10 example companies, I would be shocked if more than one had even half decent copy on their site. Mm-hmm. Shocked. Even in marketing, which is like full of, I'm a marketer.
Marketers.
Maybe half, right, full of marketers. Maybe half, maybe if it's in copywriting, I would say only 2/3 of copyright people who sell copywriting have good copywriting on their site. Maybe 2/3, right? Probably a half. But like, and as you get further and further from marketing copywriting, the numbers go down and down and down and down until you get to the boring businesses, like, I don't know, concrete or whatever. And like,
hey, my dad's in concrete. All right.
Dude, I love concrete. Concrete is the foundation of our culture in a lot of ways, right? But like, it is such
Dude, I love concrete.
Well, come on, man. You want to have a wood house or a concrete house? We went through this with the 3 little pigs, didn't we? Come on. We all know. All right, we brick, concrete, close enough. But the point is, like, boring businesses that make money and are important have terrible copy. Do you know how easy it is to be the best, the most well-known plumber in a town, or the most well-known HVAC company in a town, or the most whatever? It's so easy because the competition is like this. There's tons of companies, but none of them spend any time or effort on marketing. So if you are a copywriter, like, I'll tell you guys, the model is Roy H. Williams for copywriters. Roy H. Williams is the highest paid living ad writer. He runs the Wizard of Ads Academy, right? And he's a friend of mine, total genius. He decided 40 years ago he was going to focus on small, medium businesses. And he is the highest paid living ad man because he'll go to Phoenix and be like, all right, he'll find the best HVAC company and say, here's the deal. You're going to give me this % of your company and I'm going to blow you up 4X. You give me your ad budget and I'm going to do it. And then he does. And so like, if you live in Phoenix, you've heard of Gettle Air Conditioning, right? That's Roy Williams. If you live in Charlotte, you've heard of Mr. Gentry, whatever they're called. Like, there's only one HVAC company in Charlotte because it's the guy's Mr. Gentry, and it's all Roy Williams, right? So like, you don't have to be Roy Williams. You don't have to be, and he's a genius. You just have to pick your niche and be better than a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing. Now is the time. I mean, like, seriously.
No, I love that. I mean, it's so positive, and there's so many opportunities out there. And framing it in this way, where even if you are earlier on in your career, but you're good at a skill set, like I mean, the baseline of this is you have to be at least somewhat competent at what you're doing. But then all it takes is one. You get one good client, you put together that case study, you put it out there, and now I imagine within a month or two, you could get to the point where you're turning down clients or building a team around it because so many people are coming to you.
Yeah. So and then from there, okay, but let's talk about how do you build an agency off of that, right? Because you're the freelance copywriter. So you literally start with one client, right? I would, if I were right now a young person, I liked copywriting and I was good at it, right? I wouldn't write a book right now. You know, if you're a young copywriter, you don't have the quality, you don't have the experience yet, right? So like if I'm young, I'm good at it. Let's say I was doing a bunch of different things. And I decide, okay, like I'm going to pick just call it industry X. It could be anything that's COVID related that's going to be long-term, right? So I might not pick masks because I don't know how long that's going to be, right? Hopefully. But I would pick something and I would say just say medical sales. I'm going to go all in on this. I'm going to go. So what we talked about, you do it for free or near free, not free, really cheap. You do a great example for someone, get them to hire you, use them as a case study. Then you use that case study to get 5 more clients. You kill it for them. Now you have your case studies. Now you build your site. Okay, how do you build an agency off of this? Now what you do is you go to LinkedIn, right? You can pick a different social media if you want, but like I wouldn't pick TikTok because it depends on who your clients are. Where are they? But like if it's medical stuff, your clients are on LinkedIn. I would pick LinkedIn. And I would go start writing bad ass copy about medical device sales, right? Because your competition is none, right? And so I would literally go through, there's bots that will crawl LinkedIn, find everyone who could be a potential client in your niche, friend them, add them on LinkedIn, and then just start writing the most badass copy you can, right? And you could even start, this is what I would do. I would go to people who are nailing it in copy, and I'd explain why they're nailing it and then tag them, right? Mm-hmm. Then you want to be a little controversial. I'll go to people who, maybe not the worst. I'm not sure like calling out people who have terrible copy, but go to people who could be better and say, look, here's what this company is doing well. Here's how they could improve, and tag them. You will get clients off of that, right? And then all of a sudden you become the dude or the woman in copywriting in this space. For copywriting, I probably wouldn't start a podcast because it's like weird to listen to people talk about copy. That just never made sense to me. But at that point, once you get some traction on LinkedIn, then I would write the book, right? Then the book and it doesn't have to be much traction. You got 2,000 or 3,000 followers who are interested in medical device shit on LinkedIn, go. Who just told me to stop touching my face? I'm going to touch my face all I want.
His wife's
Tucker panicked early. He's no longer panicked.
Right. I'm fine. I've socially isolated enough, so I can do all this. I can do. I'm gonna be like Rudy Gobert now and have coronavirus in 3 days, right? No. But like, so then you write the book, and it doesn't have to be a crazy one. It can be 120 pages, and it's like the definitive guide to maybe not even copywriting. Maybe it's the definitive guide to e-commerce for medical device. Right? And you're going to focus a lot on copywriting, but then it's like, because now you're going to start having clients who are like, okay, you did my copywriting. And you did my email. Can you just manage it? Because they don't want to handle this, right? So you start building capabilities because you've got 30 clients doing the copy. They trust you if you're doing a good job. Now they want you to run their email campaigns. Then probably comes ad buying. Then comes, I don't know, whatever, like however it goes. Be smart about it. But then it's like, okay, I'm going to do the book on e-com for medical device. And then you put it out and you're not trying to sell it. You're trying to make it a bestseller. You're trying to get it in the hands of people who could hire you and prove to them that you are the dude or the girl who is like the expert on this. And if they don't hire you, they're missing out. They're losing, right? And especially, I would do video too on this. I would totally do video, and I would totally have people who like potential clients, right? And you obviously get permission, but like run through their site with them live on, maybe not live, record it with them on Zoom. Be like, okay, this could change. This could change. You could do this. oh, dude, you put that video on LinkedIn, people will love that, right? Now, and you combine it too with top 3 things medical device e-com companies get wrong. Like all the standard, this medical device company changed one word and it tripled their sales. Like the normal stuff too, but you add all that other stuff, it would be 6 months, you'll get real traction. A year and a half, you will be the undisputed thought leader in the niche if you pick a narrow enough niche. Now, what's cool is once you nail that niche, it's really easy to go wider, right? Because even if you're just like, I'm the guy you come to for medical devices above 10 grand that sell to old people. That's a really niche, right? So probably a lucrative market, but really niche. Once you get there, it's like, okay, just all medical devices above 10 grand, then it's medical sales. And medical sales is huge, right? And so like you could easily build an agency off of it. Now, again, I'm talking about the media part of building an agency, getting attention, all that kind of stuff. Not talking about the back end, scaling, I had to hire a real CEO because I don't know how to do that. It's a whole different conversation. But getting the media for this sort of stuff is, and notice what I didn't say. No PR, no mainstream press coverage, no bullshit thought leadership stuff where you pictures of you with your Ferrari or your Lambo, no
quotes of you on Instagram,
no inspirational quotes on Instagram, no aspirational bullshit. This is literally just know your shit and teach it to people who want to know it. That's it. It's really simple. You just got to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And then I would just, the thing most people get wrong is they don't start narrow enough, because like if you try right now to be like Neil Patel, good luck, man. He's got like a decade head start on you and he owns that niche and he has an agency that makes a lot of money and they can fund him to have ton of, right? But like, if you try to be the Neil Patel of SEO for dentists, I don't know if that niche is occupied or not, but you have a way better shot. And if it is occupied, then say, all right, SEO for orthodontist or maxillofacial surgeons. You can be the Neil Patel of that. And if you guys hate Neil Patel, just you know what I'm talking about. Gary Vaynerchuk, whoever you like. You can be, and it doesn't have to be scammy. You don't have to be an idiot about it. It can, the best ones. You want a really good example is Michael Kitness. He is a financial advisor. Most of his money he makes teaching financial advisors how to talk to their clients and the industry. That's all he does.
I emailed him yesterday to come on here.
Yeah, Kitness is such a good example, man. Yeah. He's so good. No one outside of his niche has any idea who he is. But if you go into his niche, he's like a rock star. You go to concerts, like, oh, Michael Kitness. I'm like, that dude, really? Total rock star, right? And I'm telling you, being a rock star in a profitable niche means you will be rich, period. And if you want to be famous, fine. Then go be Ed Milet after you get rich. But you got to get rich first.
Yeah. I think what's so cool about this is that this is like a very realistic path to creating a 6-figure income pretty quickly if you have that baseline level of skill. And then you turn that into an agency and you hire some people on and you get your, like you said, get your systems and processes, or bring someone else in to help you with that stuff. And you just do what you're good at. And there's no reason that couldn't, get to the point where it's doing 7 figures over however many years out.
Yeah. Zach and I got to 7 figures with this company in, man, it was under a year. Like 10, 11 months. Now, granted, we had a little bit of a head start because I already knew books. I had the skills, and he's real smart, learn fast. And I had a name in my industry, so it was pretty easy for me to get traction quick. But like, if you look at our industry, there's so many pretenders in our industry. People who've never written books, and they call themselves best-selling authors because all the Amazon bestseller bullshit, right? They're not real authors. Like they didn't actually write books that like long ones that are hard researched and really meaningful that sold a lot of copies without paid media. Like they don't really know how to write. I'm not trying to
or that changed people's lives.
Changed people's lives. Like they're just marketers who came into a niche that had nobody, right? Which is like I mean, you can that's something to do. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is in this niche, you've got to really know books. Books are a weird thing, right? And so that's why you'll see, like, that's why we got to 50 people and 170 freelancers and well into the 8 figures in revenue so fast, is because we went into a niche where it was all a bunch of clown pretenders and no one who actually had the skills, right? Even though it seemed like a flooded niche, there was no high-end company. And so now I actually deeply regret that we didn't start Scribe Book School from the beginning. We really should have, because that's 5 years. At this point, we would have put all those companies out of business. And the only competitors we would have would be people who are doing stuff at our level of quality, which right now there really aren't many. There's one or two. They tend to be small consultancy boutique things. But like, that's what's going to happen with us, is that we're going to keep going with this, and this is going to blow up, and we're going to dominate this space only because we just have more, like, I have more skills at this than anyone else in this space. Who's doing it. There's tons of great writers. None of them are trying to start this as a business, right? And so like that's what's going to happen with us. It is so. But if you were like looking at our space, and if the way to dominate, come in and compete with me, again, go niche. So I'm going to be Scribe only for dentists, right? Orthodontists. Those people for some reason really want to write books. I don't know why, but they do. So like, if you're like, I am the guy you come to write books if you are a dentist, then you can carve out a great niche in this space, and you could be high end, and you can actually, you know, over time really learn how to specialize in those books. And so that's true for any space, right? Now to talk about, well, does that make sense? Before I go, I was about to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think one of the things that could come up for people is, I guess, that ego of being like, well, no, I do want to be the Neil Patel and have that like general, but I guess that just goes to, I mean, Tim Ferriss wrote a recent article about just like the downside of fame and why that's not necessarily what you want to go for. It's like, get rich first, become successful first, then see if you still want that fame.
I will tell you guys, as someone who got famous first before he got rich, it's a hellscape. It sucks. There are benefits. Like, I really liked that girls knew who I was and wanted to sleep with me before I met them. That's amazing, right? I really
got free party access and stuff like that.
Yeah. Anything I wanted to go to, I could get into.
Doesn't help much right now.
No, obviously right now. There are benefits to being famous. I will not pretend there are not. But after a while, you realize most of the benefits are just covering up emotional pain you're running from. And the sooner you turn into that, the better it is, right? So like, if you want to go be famous, fine, go be famous. But understand, it will not fill the hole in your soul. It will not actually, usually it won't even make you rich, right? Most of the famous people you know,
yeah, they're
made
broke.
money first, right? Either they're broke or they made money first, right? Like Grant Cardone had a lot of money when he started all this BS. I know who he hired to build his whole system. That guy has a lot of money now. I would say actually in about a year, he might have more money than Grant Cardone, because Grant is very, very leveraged in his real estate thing. We'll see how he does. I'm not so certain Grant's going to come out of this real well. But someone like Ed Milet's going to come out of it fine. Ed made a lot of money, then decided I wanted to go be famous, right? That's great. There's another set of people, right? The Instagram, models or whatever, who are like, can't pay their rent, right? They're on like sugardaddy.com trying to make money because like they have a bunch of audience and they don't make any money, right? Neither of those are fun, right? And I'm not saying money's the end all be all, but doing work that you find rewarding, that's the thing that lights me up. I mean, that's why we're doing this. I like teaching people about books. I love writing. I love books. I like teaching people about that. I like helping them achieve their dreams by writing their books. I love all that. Like God knows, man, I'm not doing this for money. We're doing real well. But if I was just trying to make money, I could make way more money out of things, So like when I say pick a niche, I mean like if you're young and you just care about money, then pick profitable niches. You'll find after a while, though, that just it might be 10 years, but that doesn't really light you up. Try at least find a niche that you really enjoy, or you enjoy the results of it. Like if you don't care that much about medical devices, but you love being part of saving lives, that's cool. you know?
So that was one of the questions
and-
that, oh, go ahead, Charlie.
Sorry to interject, Chris. I was going to say, would it make sense to do a hot seat for anybody who's got like a burning question for Tucker right now?
Like,
Good.
bring them
Whatever you
on?
guys want.
Yeah.
Yeah, raise your hand if you have a specific question. Leave it in the comment.
Lower all the hands. And yeah, if anybody wants to jump on with a Q&A.
Karen's saying she wants to know how to write a book. Right? That's literally what we're spending all next week doing.
Yeah, so scribebookschool.com, Karen, is where you're going to want to sign up to come to our live workshop. And
just posted it.
We're going to cover everything. And you can also check out the YouTube channel. There's a lot of information there.
Yeah, and the workshop's free. Like, no BS, totally free. Yes, Karen or Heinrich, there will be a replay. We're gonna put it up on the site, on the course page, and the full course will be free forever, right? Which, by the way, let me tell you guys. I'm gonna tell you guys our strategy, right? And so you can use this in your business or consultancy or freelance or whatever you're doing, right? When you can give away what other people are selling, right? When you can give away as lead gen what other people sell, you are going to dominate your market, right? So I'll give you an example. There's a lot of, like, what's a good example? Self-publishing school or bestseller publishing, or there's a million of these little, and they're all small. They're all in the, $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 million range. These companies that sell courses on how to write a book, how to publish a book, how to get an agent, all those sort of things, right? Some of them, like I think Jane Friedman has some courses that they're pretty good. Others down market are not good. They're scammy. But the point is, the entire industry almost is paid courses in varying degrees of quality. We have an agency. Like, we do this as a service for people, right? It's a productized agency, but it's still an agency. And so we can give away all of this information for free, right? So what they're selling courses. We're going to create, we already have it, a better course. Because I mean, our stuff is better. Like, we've used it on 1,500 highbrow authors, David Goggins, Tiffany Haddish, people like that. 1,500 battle tested our process. It's amazing. We're going to teach the entire thing, every single step, every template, every single technique we use, and give it all away for free. That's what Scribe Book School is.
And we've already been giving that away as a book.
We just haven't promoted it, right? We haven't talked about it. That's what this is so good for us. And we never really truly leaned into it. Now we're going full into it. Because now here's the thing. Because what that does, it does two things. Everyone thinks we're amazing because we're giving this really valuable information away for free. And it is valuable. And we are a little bit amazing for doing it, no doubt, right? So we create all this amazing goodwill. We're going to collect a huge email list off of this. We're going to have all kinds of people who know us and like us, right? And they should, because I'm going to show up and give everything I have. Every piece of knowledge is coming out of my head. But it is going to help us financially. And even if not one person who shows up on that thing buys anything from us, because we're not going to be selling on that webinar. We don't have like low-end services to sell people. And most of our services start when the book's done. All of them start when the book's done. So we can't sell anything. But even if none of those people work with our services company, what this does is establish us as the company in this space, right? We are the high-end brand. We are the ones who gave away the product that everyone uses to write their book, right? So I'm not trying to put these other companies out of business, but it's going to basically put their company, they're going to have to change their model, or it's going to put their companies out of business. Most of them can't change their model because they don't know enough about books to do this as a service. Right? And so like, it actually makes the world a way better place. So instead of people having to pay for the best information about how to write, publish, and market your book, they're going to get it for free. And so all these people who couldn't afford whatever the course is, because people will charge $500 to $5,000 for those courses. Now it's all free, right? And so they're like, oh, wow. And so all these people are going to be able to write books that couldn't before, or write better books. Some tiny portion of them will be customers of ours, and those people will talk about us, so our brand equity will go way up. But this is basic understanding of how content marketing works. It's just taken the next level, where
it's the same thing that you're teaching then people to do with their book. So you put together this book, you put together the process. You're not trying to get rich off the book. The book is a marketing tool that then you're proving your expertise. So it's all this meta system that just generates more. A small portion of the people that read your book are going to hire you, but that could be a $50,000 contract.
in 5 years,
Yeah.
right? Seriously, or never. I mean, there's going to be so many people on this webinar and they're going to talk about us. And then like, let's just say our clients are only aloof. It's not true, but let's say they're just all aloof rich people who would never go to a webinar, right? Which is totally not true. Cause I know a lot of people who have way more money than me who are going to watch this, which is like, it's like kind of funny, but to me, but like, it's just true. They're going to hear about us from other people, right? So it is going to be a massive branding opportunity for us. So for us to plant the flag and say, we are the best company in this space and we will prove it by teaching what everyone else is charging for, right? Mm-hmm. Now my point, how do you use this? Whatever industry you're in, think about what other people are selling and think about if you can use that as a lead gen for your company. So to take it back to the copywriter example, most copywriters charge even for a consultation. But if you look at someone's site and you do the work on actually changing it, right? Like what are the changes you would make? Or just the top 3 major, you don't have to do a full rewrite because that might be too hard. Just the top 3 major changes, right? And then send that to them. If you do that to 10, I will say 5 will ignore you, 3 will make the changes and not credit you, but probably 1 or 2 are going to hire you. Right. And so you got to understand, you are not going to get, it's not, the world doesn't open up, but what the smart people will show up and be like, oh man, like these changes are great. And this person's willing to work for cheap. I just found a diamond in the rough. Right. And so you're giving away what other people are selling, which is the consultation and some of the changes. Then you make them hire you. Of course, they got to hire you and they got to pay you. But I would still reduce my rate until I find something that they can work on, they can deal with. And then just the condition is they got to be open to being a full case study. Like you get to use before and after and all that sort of stuff. Great, done.
Yeah.
Then as you go forward, like just look at what everyone else is selling. Because all the high-end copywriters, man, you can't even talk to them for less than 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 grand. Like they don't even consult with people. Yeah, which, look, I get it. If you're Paris Lampropoulos or John Benson or whoever, Craig Clemens, they have so much reputation that they can do that. So that's okay. But you can give away what they're charging for, and that's how you get your foot in the door. Start with a niche, give away what everyone else is charging for, and if you have any skill at all, it's basically just a matter of time.
Well, and let's say they don't have skill. Maybe people did lose their job or they're transitioning industries right now. How would somebody, because I was thinking about this where it's like you can read the top 3 books on Amazon about whatever topic and get, a good 80-20 return on that. You could take a couple courses and now you can develop your own process around this and give that away for free. And now you have this thing that other people are charging for. You have your own kind of amalgamated system and now you can teach that or sell that. I mean, how would you think about developing those skills?
Like copywriting skills? What skills?
Yeah, let's use that as the example. It's like you just shifted, you like copywriting, but you don't have any formal training or never had a client before.
All right. So for a lot of these things, there's kind of 2 parallel strategies. There's either I am going to survey the field, learn it myself, and practice on my own through trial and error and figure it out. You can do that. Or go find a mentor and work for the apprentice mentor system, right? So like if I was, and you can combine them. So if my goal was, I want to be a badass copywriter, probably my strategy right now would be, I would read, all the iconic books on copywriting, the Robert Collier letter and the Halbert, whatever, like I'd read all those, right? And then Ray Benson, whatever his name is, I would read them all. And then I would start writing copy. I would, even if it's for nobody, right? Then until I thought it was good. Then actually probably what I would do is what I might do is I might start writing copy and trying like set up landing pages to see if I could use it
collect
to
leads or
anything.
something.
Yeah, right. Collect leads or affiliates or just whatever the cheapest, easiest thing is to test your copy in the real world. Right. I might even just do it on social media. Right. Because look, I come out of entertainment. One of the reasons I'm such a great writer is because I came out of entertainment, and in entertainment, the table stakes is maintaining attention. In business, if you can maintain attention, you're rich. And it was like, so it was such an easy transition for me to come from entertainment to marketing, because it was like, oh, what you guys struggle with, like the worst people in my field can do, So like, I actually might start trying to be good at Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, like that's probably where I would start. But I come from entertainment mindset, and a lot of copywriters come from a transactional mindset, which isn't necessarily bad. It's just different. Right. And so, but the point is, in any copywriting, you've got, how am I maintaining people's attention and getting them to take some kind of action, right?
Yeah.
So I would test that as much as possible. I would then probably I would go to someone whose work I really respected, and try and mentor for them, right? With them, apprentice with them. That's a whole separate discussion. But there's
I have Mastery by Robert Greene on my desk right here. That could be a good place to start.
We could close the loop. How did we start? Recession-proof graduate. Chris with me.
I was going to say, Charlie's the guy with this.
Yeah, exactly.
So I read Charlie's stuff and be like, okay, I'm not saying you have to find, a lot of people, they get fixated on a mentor as a status thing. Oh, I worked with, this person, and that makes me high status. No. You want to work with them to learn from them, not because of the status it confers, right? But look, Roy Williams mentored with nobody. Like, he just went out and did it. Like, I don't know of any way to learn quicker than putting your stuff in the market and getting feedback on it. It's how I became a great writer, was emails to my friends. And, it's entertainment. And you can't lie to your friends. You can't bullshit your friends. You can't, waste their time. So it was like a really rough crucible. If I'm trying to be funny on emails to 9 friends, it's like group chat now. If you can't be funny in a group chat, you can't be funny as a copywriter, right? So be funny in your group chat first, then take that and put it somewhere else and be like, okay, let me see how it applies to people I don't know, and go from there. Does that make sense?
And I think I think that's another Nassim Taleb thing, is like testing your stuff in the real world. Don't be a intellectual yet idiot. It's like you need to be constantly validating and going through that cycle. It's like the startup MVP cycle, where you can't just go away to a cave for a year and hone your craft. You need to be getting real world feedback.
Yep, 100%. Yes, and you've got to be as egoless as possible about it, right? So many people, when they start things, they want to be amazing quickly, and when they're not, or they either if they're not amazing quickly, they quit. Or what I see happen more often is someone, like, I see this happen all the time. I used to, when I was still writing frat tire stuff. Someone would write a funny email to their friends, and it would like blow up among their little friends. And then they'd send it to me and be like, look, I'm a better writer than you. I'm the next you, blah, 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 blah. My friends say I'm hilarious. And I'm like, you wrote one funny, even usually the emails were stupid, but every now and then they were actually funny. And I'm like, you wrote one funny email. When you have 5, then you can start to think about doing this, right? When you have 5 that are really funny, that have actually gone viral in a real way, then start thinking about it. Until then, you're just a fucking pretender, right? And that's fine. It's not, the way I started learning how to write is I literally copied my writing idols. I was a pretender. Like Chuck Palahniuk, Fight Club, I probably read 20 times. P.J. O'Rourke, specifically the book All the Trouble in the World, and Age, Guile, and Youth Beat, or Age and Guile Beat Youth in a Bad Haircut, or something like that. And then there's another one called Neon Bible by John Kennedy Toole. Those are my 3 books that I really, really like used as, like, I almost tried, I almost hand wrote them, copied them. And I tried to write like them starting off, and it was garbage. It was the worst. I was the worst writer. But then I used that to develop my own style. And you can see the influences from each of those 3 in my style. But my style is very distinctly mine now, because I just kept writing until I found my voice. And once I found my voice, man, I had a ton of initial reaction. But the initial reaction did not make me a hit, man. My first email that went viral was like in 2000. This is back when email forwards were a thing, right? 2002. My book didn't come out until 2006. There was a lot of work in between that, and a lot of effort. And I wasn't like a copywriter where I was getting paid for it. I was like poor, man. I was like trying to date unattractive girls so they bring me food. Like that's the level I was at, dude. I was not like, so it was a whole different thing for me. But the point is, early traction, right, is a sign that you're on the right track. But then you're going to have a dip. Seth Godin wrote a book about it. It's called The Dip. You're going to have a dip. You got it. Successful people all made it through that dip, right? And so you got to push through that, which just means more practice, more practice.
Well, and one of the concepts actually, yeah, I learned this from you two on the mating grounds about the competence through, Competence through, what is the line? Confidence through competence. So as you're going through that cycle.
Yeah.
What's that?
Demonstrated performance. Yeah. That's the only way to be confident is you've got to actually do the thing and then believe that you've done it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Demonstrate performance.
Okay, so at what point would you now, like getting to Scribe Book School, at what point should somebody be thinking about writing a book or at least putting together the outline to start filling it out? And then what are they going to leave Scribe Writing School with? Right. Because it's a 2-day program, right?
No, it's 5.
5 days. Okay.
Well, it's not a 5-day program. We have 5 days of teaching. So the first 2 days are our basic nonfiction book, right? So like anything that I would consider a reputation book, right? So like business, personal development, self-help, knowledge share, anything like that you're going to use to raise your status and reputation, either for your business or for something else. That we're going to teach that. That's over 2 days. Day 3 is memoir, right? Because there are like so many people who want to write a book. What they really want, man, is they want to tell their story, which is totally valid and fine. That's what I did with my first books, right? Although my books, I wrote them to be entertaining, it was still my story and my truth. And so those have to be separate. You can't do both at once. Now, don't get me wrong. In a knowledge share business book, you can totally tell stories about yourself, but only if they are in service of teaching the thing that it is you're trying to teach. And I'm going to explain this it's like one of the very first things I explained on Monday is the difference between the two books and how you use them and how to decide which one you want to write. You can do both. They're just different types of books, right? And so we're going to teach both. So now my assumption is if you want to write a memoir, that's cool. We're going to teach that Wednesday. It's not really about business and don't expect it to help business, even though it often will. That's usually just a tangential kind of side thing. But if you want to write a book to help your business, it's pretty basic, man. What you are doing is figuring out what do you want from your book, right? And be very specific. It's usually, I want to increase my reputation so that I can get more media, more people know about me, who are my clients, and I can get more business. It's some variation of that, which makes total sense. That's what you want. Then the question is, who's your audience? Like, who has to know about you for you to get that? Then why are they going to care about your book, right? It's really, really simple. There's a lot of complexity and subtlety that we'll walk through tomorrow, but it's just, what do I want to get from my book? Who do I have to reach to get that? Why are they going to care? Right? And then that's the most important thing a lot of people miss is like, because we get people who like, they know when they go look for a book, they don't give a damn about the author. They only care about themselves and learning something or having some transformation because of the book. But then when they sit down to write, like they just forget that. And it's like, I was born on a farm as a young boy. It's like, stop. No one cares. Right? And so, but once you explain it to people and help, like we have a whole template that if people have signed up, you already got it in the email. You'll see the template. And I'm going to walk you through it tomorrow. You're going to fill it out in real time about like how to think about this to make sure that you're going to write a book that your audience will value and then think higher of you and potentially want to work with you or talk about you.
That's awesome. That's super cool. I mean, yeah, I think not even before Scribe Writing School, all the stuff that you just gave in terms of how you can build a business. I mean, everyone here, if they take that, they have a 6-figure business that they can be building. And then you put this on top of it. And I mean, you're going to be unstoppable. You can formalize that process. You can use this to bring more people in. It's like you just set yourself up for the next decade if you're actually going to go and you're going to follow through on this and you're going to get off the sidelines, get into the game on this to make it as cliche as possible. But yeah, man, that's incredible. So where after the week, where are people going to leave this with? Like what tools or what are they going to be like? We gave you this. Now you need to go execute what?
Write your book. I mean, dead serious. After 2 days, you should know every single thing you need to write your book. First, no, you should have a very clear book positioning. You know exactly what book you want to write. You know exactly who it's for. You know exactly why they're going to care. You know exactly what it's going to get you. So you know if you should write a book or not, right? Because some of you shouldn't, and we will tell you. We'll help you figure that out. I mean, so you'll know all that. That's called book positioning. Then you're going to have a clear book structure. Then you're going to have a clear book outline, right? Then you're going to know, we're going to help you make a writing plan. So you know exactly when you're going to write, like what time of day, where you're going to write, how much you're going to write each day, like an entire plan. Then you're going to know exactly how to write. When you sit down to write, what do you do? How do you think about it? All of that. How do you set up your docs? Like the most fundamental things in writing. We walk through all of it. Then when you're done writing, how do you edit? Right? We're going to tell you everything about editing, right? Everything we do with our clients, every single thing. Then all of that sort of stuff, all of it. Everything.
Removing all of the excuses people have. I didn't know Microsoft Word or Google Docs. How do I do it? I can't write.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for hopping on. This means the world to me, and I think this is really going to help people out. Again, everybody, I hope you'll go over. Charlie just posted it again, Scribe Book School. Thank you. What do you guys have? What message do you want to leave people with? And again, there will be a replay. We'll be sending this out to everybody who joined as well as registered for it. We'll be putting together a blog post on it, putting it on YouTube, social media, so everybody can check this out and all that. But Tucker and Charlie, any last things you guys want to address?
Don't touch your face. Charlie, what do you got?
No, I mean, this has been awesome. I've known both of you for close to a decade now, and it's really cool that all three of us came on. I know.
So you never introduced me to your friend before now? I'm not good enough? You're embarrassed about me or what?
That's right. So I'm glad you guys had the opportunity to meet. But no, I mean, Tucker, Chris has been impacted by your work on deep levels, like both therapy and everything. And so it's cool you guys get a chance. But yeah, I'm excited to see everybody in the book school workshop.
Awesome. Yep. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you taking the time on a Sunday, which we don't ever really do, but not much else. I guess you had a walk to go on, but not much else going on this weekend. So thank you guys very much. It's super cool to connect with both of you. And I wish you guys the best of luck. I will be joining in, and I'm super excited about it.
Cool. See you there, man.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.